Now what's curious, and I'll shift it back to Toronto, is what does Kyle do? Like, that left side is wide open.
Wide
now.
open. Yeah, It's wide open. At this point, you have Mikheyev. I think Kerfoot might play the wing.
Right.
But then you've got your third-line center wide open as well.
But do you see Kerfoot, like, consistently as your second-line left winger? I don't.
I don't think it's ideal, but I think it might happen, Noodles. You know, who's out there that they're going to chase that's going to make an impact up the left side?
Well, what do you guys think? I mean, Landeskog would be a wish list. He's too rich. It's too much money. Right.
Too rich.
So then you're looking at Jaden Schwartz. My understanding is Jaden Schwartz is going to get more than Hyman. So that's too rich then, too, is it?
And it sounds like he's going to Seattle. I mean, that's out there anyway, that he may be working on that move already.
And
so
Brandon Saad, guys like that.
Yeah.
Like, I keep looking, and it's getting thinner and thinner unless you're looking at a hockey deal. Like a flat-out, trade. Go ahead, Gord.
Or the discount bin.
Right.
You tried Galchenyuk last year in the discount bin. You picked him up. Take a look at an Andrew Cogliano.
Yeah.
A Toronto kid and a similar kind of hardworking, not the same physicality of Hyman. Diggs. I mean, are you you're going to have to likely, don't you think, Jamie? You're going to have to probably take a chance on someone and hope it turns out.
Well, it depends on how you distribute the wealth. Like, I actually haven't seen what their cap is going to look like right now, and who's coming back and how much money they actually have to play with. But I just don't think you can go, here's $7 million to somebody. Like, now all of a sudden you're starting to, you've got the four guys that are making a ton, so you might have to find some value somewhere, whether it's finding a younger player in a trade or finding, like you said, a discount bin player, or maybe it's the hometown discount again. You get somebody who's like, yeah, I'd like to play there. Now, I don't know if it's a Joe Thornton type, but that now you start going into, it's a father figure situation. I think the Leafs have to get away from that.
Yeah, they do.
You just need better players.
You got to get better players than that. That's the issue. Like Jumbo, we're going back to 82 games, full travel. Like by the end of the road for Jumbo, it was like, man, I don't know if he should be in the lineup. You know what I mean? And by the playoffs, it really fell off. And that's natural. Like that's just father time calling your name, man. That's the way it goes.
Well, I just was reading, just as you guys were talking, did I see that Nick Ritchie didn't get qualified by Boston?
It looks like he didn't.
Now, that's, again, I think Nick sometimes, like, he's a heavy player. I think sometimes he doesn't think the game as well as you'd like him to. He takes some poor penalties and stuff, but he's something that the Leafs don't have. You know what I mean? Like a real irritable player. I know Simmons tries to play that role, but like Ritchie is all of 6'2", 210
He's
type
a big
of thing.
boy.
Yep.
And, big head on him, runs people around, can play on the power play, goes to the net well. Like, honestly, I was seeing that just as you were bringing me in. I'm like, it might look pretty good in Toronto, to be honest. Now, I don't know what his price tag would be.
That's the question, right? Like, now there are a lot of teams in this league dealing with cap problems. The Leafs are not alone. So what ends up happening is there'll be a bunch of guys that go off on the cheap or at the high level. Right? Like this is the way it always goes. The guys at the highest level, they'll get their money, they'll get their deals. The guys who know they're taking $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, they'll get their deals quickly. And there will be that middle class that will have to wait a week or two or whatever, and they're going to be haggling over 3.2 or 3.5. You know what I mean? It's like they're fighting over $100,000 here or there, and that's where there's just not that much money in the league. So the Leafs have got to get their hands on someone of substance. Like, we're talking the replacement of the first line left winger, and I get who the first line center is and the first line right winger. They're the more prominent players, the more dominant players, the more talented players. But Hyman was consistent every single night. You knew what you were getting for years. Yeah. And I don't think Mikheyev has the skill set to move up the lineup. I think he's a third-line guy. Maybe even on the right team, he's on the fourth line.
Well, you can't be asking guys to play. Like, that's not an ideal situation for 82 games. Like, guys to play above what they're capable of.
Right.
Like there's a difference between a young guy growing into a spot and a guy who really is a third liner, and you're asking him to play first line minutes because you either can't afford it or you don't have anybody else. That's where, when push comes to shove, you get exposed. And I think Kyle's well aware of that. But it'll be just interesting to see what they do. If you believe that Kerfoot's going to get pushed to the left side, well, then they've got a lot of work to do at the bottom of the roster still, if you ask me.